we are looking at our national debt as a percentage of GDP, or how much debt we have relative to the size of our economy. The national debt is the grand total of all the deficits we run from year to year, and you can see that, with the exception of the late 90s, our debt has pretty much been growing for the past 30 years. So does the level of debt matter? Well, many economists will say that while any amount of debt does have costs, we really want to keep it below 60% of GDP, and that should be our long-term goal. So our past has put us in a tough spot, but the future is where things get troubling, especially in the long term. When economists make projections about what our debt will look like over the next few decades, they show us heading towards an all-out fiscal crisis. Fortunately, this projection was based on how things were looking at the end of 2012, before the fiscal cliff, and there have been some policy changes as a result. We had the American Taxpayer Relief Act, more commonly known as the Fiscal Cliff Deal, and the sequester. The Fiscal Cliff Deal was passed after those long and dramatic negotiations in Congress, and it mostly targeted tax increases on the wealthy. Let's see what this new legislation did for our long-term debt. So, a lot of drama, but not a lot of results. What about the sequester, which took effect in March of 2013? Surely the sequester, with its across-the-board spending cuts, changed the picture more sizably. And again, it seems only to have bought us a little more time. 2013 brought some good news from outside Washington on healthcare. While the experts aren't exactly sure why, healthcare spending is not rising as fast as it used to. And the latest projections show a better fiscal outlook over a 10-year window. But these changes in healthcare cost projections haven't fixed our long-term problem, as you can see here. Debt is still on an unsustainable path. The reason we continue to face a long-term challenge is quite simply because we haven't addressed the sources of the problem. Let's take a look at where our government dollars will be spent in the future, and how much tax money will be available to fund the spending. These numbers are also in percent of GDP, so health spending isn't just growing, it's growing faster than the rest of our economy. And the same is true for Social Security, but at a less dramatic rate. It's clear that in order to avoid a crisis, we have to address those areas of spending. The other side of the deficit equation is revenues, that is to say, the taxes our government takes in. If the taxes we collect can't keep up with the spending we want, debt will continue to rise. Note the gap between total revenue and spending and how much our tax dollars will be going towards health spending and interest by 2040. So when we look back at how the picture of our national debt has changed since the fiscal cliff, we've taken some small steps in the right direction, but our long-term challenges remain. If we act now, we'll have much better options than if we wait. Plus, we can make these important decisions about our nation's future carefully and thoughtfully, instead of through panicked 11th-hour negotiations. To be sure, solutions will require compromise. Fortunately, there are many plans put forward by different groups that address these issues and put our national debt on a sustainable path. You can see how these plans stack up and learn more about them here.